Record. So, tell me a little bit about this incredible show that you're working on. I've been reading up about it. It sounds amazing.
It really is. They introduced the concept to me, and I was like, "This is super cool." And during the entire time, this idea of putting, searching throughout the country for people that have these amazing things, and not to mention the things, but the incredible stories behind them. That's just the best.
Yes. And what was the coolest thing that you found since doing the show?
you know, there's so many of them, and I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it truly is. There's, in the first two episodes that'll be airing on Tuesday, one of the coolest things is a set of Woodstock jackets from the head of security for
Oh
Woodstock.
my gosh. Wow.
It's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. I mean, really. And the family couldn't have been any nicer. And that's one of those things where you just look at it and go, I cannot believe I am appraising this.
What? Yeah. And this is for the actual security people that had it, or is it a family member that inherited it?
This was the granddaughter and great granddaughter of the owner. And he was the documented head of security for Woodstock.
Wow. Wow. And did they have a story behind it, or?
They did. They had all the documents. They had all the story about their granddad, and I actually knew who their granddad was. So that took on another level. Was like, this guy, he was not only so very special in the history of Woodstock, but he was a great law enforcement officer. So it was just incredible.
That is, yeah. And the fact that you were connected to him makes it all the more special.
I knew who he was before they even got on air. I knew exactly, and the surprise reaction is just something I can't wait for everyone to see.
I'll bet. And how did Jeff Foxworthy get involved in all this?
Good question. They asked me about a year and a half ago if I'd be interested in doing this concept. And I was like, yeah. And, we just kind of progressed. But then they suddenly announced one day, they told me, hey, Jeff Foxworthy's a host. But Jeff is one of the biggest collectors I know. That man has tons of stuff.
Wow. And did you appraise any of his stuff on the show, or?
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay and what was it like working with him? He seems like such a nice guy.
One of the nicest people that, and I've followed his career, from day one. That I've loved his comedy, and I love him as a human being, and then to be able to work with him, that's one of those bucket list things, just a super awesome guy, and he just, he's just a good, decent person.
I'll bet. Yeah, he's one of my bucket list people too. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. And what would you say was the biggest challenge about appraising something?
There are a lot, the thing about appraising, and not just on the show, but things in general, the thing about appraising is that you've got to learn the history behind it. And you really, really have to get down to the brass tacks, saying things like, well, the originals were on this stock paper, or this was this way, or the signatures is this way. And you really have to make sure that you got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
Definitely. I can't even imagine. And what's it like if someone finds out that something they thought was really valuable actually wasn't? How do you tell them without really upsetting them?
In my world, I do that often. And that's what I tell them. It's like, I use the example. I was like, my great aunt's dinner plate, they thought that came over on the Mayflower actually came from Piggly Wiggly in 1971. So they're like, oh no, but that one, and I hate doing that, but I have to, because I don't want someone going around. If I look at something, I don't want someone going around and going, well, this is so-and-so. No, actually it's not. And it's a tough thing to do sometimes.
I can imagine. Tell me a little bit more about the process. I know you said there's paperwork involved sometimes, but can you tell just by looking at something that it's valuable, or?
You do the research. It's all about research, research, research. Read, because honestly, if someone who wants to be in this business, what you have to understand, you have to be like a detective. You have to go through and make sure that, well, they reproduced this 4,000 times, and they did this, and they did this, and they did this. But the problem is, you've got to know what's the difference between the original and the copies. And
Gosh.
yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. I promise you that.
I could imagine. And has anyone tried to tell you that a copy was actually the original? Tried to pull it over on you?
Many times, many times. Oh no, no, I know my uncle got that from so and so, or my so and so got that. I'm sorry, but it's not real.
Yeah, that's got to be difficult for you. And what about people that just maybe pick something up at a garage sale or a flea market? Have you ever had something that you were shocked by how valuable it was?
Oh yes, I've actually done that. I've actually picked things up. I picked up some things that have gone to museums that came out of a garage sale or came off of a little old auction or something, and you just can't believe it. But sometimes you kind of have that sixth sense, that spidey tingle, and you think, oh, I think this might be something. And if you're only paying a couple bucks for it, you're really not losing out on anything. But if it's real, then you've got something there.
Wow. Do you have anything of your own? Do you have a favorite thing of yours that ended up being really valuable?
Yeah, I actually I found a Coca-Cola bottle, and I was thinking, I looked at it, I said, I've never seen this one. And it was and you think, well, new Coke bottles aren't really worth a lot. But I looked at it, and I looked it up, and the first minute that I started reading about it, and they only made a case of these, one case, and it was
Oh,
to
wow.
commemorate the New York City Coca-Cola bottling company, them being in operation for 25 years. I had no idea. It was empty. I paid $1 for it. I think it was worth at the time about $3.50. And
Wow.
I was like, scored.
Yes, that really is. Yeah. I love going to garage sales and flea markets and stuff. I probably don't have anything valuable from them, but I should really go through my stuff and be like, maybe there is something valuable.
That's what this show is all about, is people come to us and they go, I've got this, but I don't know if it's worth anything. That's been hanging around my house forever. And then we come to find out it's very possibly worth a lot of money. And then of course there's some things where you look at and go, sorry, it's fake, or whatever. But most of the time, I love to be able to give this news to people that this thing that's been sitting around forever, is something worthwhile, um, which is amazing.
That's half the fun, just finding out and just like going through stuff, and that's half the fun. And there's always a story behind something, whether it's valuable or not, I think.
I think so too. And being able, once you start putting all the pieces together, it's like a huge jigsaw puzzle. Once you put all those pieces together and you realize, wow, congratulations, you have something really, really valuable here. And a lot of times they'll go, yeah, I don't want to sell it. But then there's once in a while they'll go, really? That's going to pay my mortgage, or that's going to help me out.
Right, right.
And that's why they do that.
Yeah, and it looks like you have a great collection there behind you. I'm looking at some of that stuff. That little chicken thing behind you is so cute. I love it.
Yeah. This is my wall, as they say. I mean, I've got stuff packed away, but this wall's we've got old trucks, and we've got phones, and we got cameras and all kinds of stuff. I love this. I've been in it since I was 4 years old, or actually 7. I traded an old beat up Mickey Mantle baseball card at 7. And I've been at this, I'm 51 now, and I have been at this ever since then. I was hooked because I got money, and then I got some more cards out of this old beat up card. And I was like, I can't believe this.
Wow. It's 7 years old and you knew exactly what you were gonna do. That
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And so that's where it's just led through the years to this.
And now you have an incredible show, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very proud of it. Everyone is just, I mean, we've worked so hard on it, especially with all the COVID limitations and everything. We're so proud because we all, from production to all, Jeff and my other appraisers, everyone has worked so hard on this show, and we can't wait for people to see it because it's just a lot of fun.
Now, how did you do that during the pandemic? Did you film it before? Did you do it over Zoom? How did you do it?
No, we actually did it during. We actually did it. We actually filmed during. And they would, there would they would people would email their stuff, and then we would talk to them, and then it just became a process, and it just started working out. Folks from all over the country are in this thing, and that's what I really like is your friends and neighbors are a part of it. And hey, I know them, or I know that thing, because we're not really locked into one category. We're more like, from pinball machines to Woodstock jackets to statues and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun stuff that I promise you, you'll be hooked on it because we are. I mean, it's just like, I cannot believe that we're praising this stuff.
And one thing I like to ask to people I interview, tell me a fun fact about yourself that might surprise people.
You know what? I've got a lot of fun facts. I've lived a very, very interesting, eclectic life, if you will. I've been really, really blessed. I decided years ago that I was going to not going to just settle, and so I've I bought and sold some 5 things that have gone to museums. And that's really, to be able to say I picked something out that a museum goes, I want that in our collection. That's that's pretty neat. And so I love that.
That is amazing. Do you have so you have stuff of yours that's ended up in museums?
I got 5 things in museums all across the country. And it was just from me going and picking something out and saying, that's interesting. I've never seen that. And then the next thing you know, a museum is contacting me and going, I'll give you, for instance, I had 2 picture cards from 2 soldiers in West Point, New York. And the West Point Museum from the college sends me, they contacted me, and they sent a guy down here because he said, these are our guys. The stamps on the back were from a photographer that was local. And they said, we're taking them to the museum because these are our guys. And that made me feel so good, And I've got other things, and I got contracts from musicians and museums, and I got other stuff, and it just does my heart good.
Yeah. And since we're also a TV site, what are you watching on TV these days?
Well, I always love, I actually do props for Stranger Things. And so I watch them. I watch the Ozarks. I love all that stuff. And, of course, I love Storage Wars and fun stuff on A&E. I mean, I love all this stuff.
Nice. And what was it like working on Stranger Things, doing the props for that?
It was so much fun. I honestly, I started out doing, I provided some old hot water heaters, and that's what got me into them. And the next thing you know, by now, I mean, we're building props, we're doing stuff. The last season was our big, there's a lot of stuff in that show, and it's just truckloads. And so that's what I do else besides being an appraiser and do auctions. I also do props for movies and TV shows.
Very nice. What's your favorite one that you've done it for?
Well, other than Stranger Things, I did a Tom Cruise movie called American Made. And
okay.
I did pretty much every tool, every prop, everything that they had in the movie, from sheets. I've got a great picture on my Facebook page of Tom Cruise. The car, I had this white wicker hamper. I don't know if you remember those. They were the ones in the late 70s, early 80s that were always in the bathrooms. And I thought, I will never get rid of that thing. That was the first thing they bought. So I've got a picture on my Facebook page of Tom Cruise standing in front of the car waving at me, and it's a big, and it's got that white hamper on top of it. So when you see the movie, you'll see it driving into town, and you'll see that big white hamper on top of the car. And
That's awesome.
all the prop people said, "We did this for you. Thanks for all your help." And I thought that was just the bomb, you know.
That is, yeah, I can't top that.
So
Cannot top that.
I love that behind the scenes kind of thing, you know, where you put something in there and go, hey, that's mine. Oh, that's, you know, whatever. So pretty neat.
Right. And tell us one more time where we can watch the show and where we can find it on social media.
Tuesday night, every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock on A&E. And then also this coming Tuesday night is our premiere, of course. And then you can watch it on ane.com, I believe. You can also see it there and check the links there.
Okay, so all the social media stuff is on the website.
Yes. All the social media is on the website. Go to ane.com. It'll lead you through everything that you need to know about the show. What's it worth? And, you know, with Jeff Foxworthy, you can see it all right there, and it'll tell you where to go. And, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you.
It's been my pleasure. And you know what? We may look you up in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, we'll look you up because we're up there all the time junking.
Yeah, let me know. You have a lasagna with your name on it.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good to meet you. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.